Tonight on episode 39 of the Penthouse Basements podcast, we venture yet again into the world of community radio with a trip to the Thought Bowl. Topics discussed include an intense breakdown of the recent Queen biopic Bohemian Rhapsody, plus a couple of spoiler-free reviews of A Star Is Born and The Haunting of Hill House. We also talk way too much about hitchhiking. All this and more next on episode 39 of the Penthouse Basements podcast.
And this is the Thought Bowl. I am Pete.
Hey, I'm Heather.
Today we are here with our five-time guest. Is this your fifth time here, David? Fourth or fifth?
I think I'm a member of the Five-Timers
Yeah, the
Club.
Five-Timer Clubs. Internationally known, loved by children and animals worldwide.
That's it.
David Lomison.
No one over the age of 10. Why do you keep having me back?
So you just came back from a cross-country journey.
Yeah, literally. I rolled down the window and jumped out right into the studio.
Just rolled right in.
Yeah.
So tell us about where that journey started and where it ended.
Started in Washington, D.C. Our mutual friend, Dave Johnston, who we did improv with, and I think he was on this show.
Yeah, he was on the show.
He wanted to move to L.A. to become a comedy writer, and he had a dog, a corgi, Abby, who could not go on the plane.
Could not go on the plane. Why?
Too old, and I mean, I don't know that she couldn't go on, but with a dog, an elderly dog, you don't want her like just shoved in a cargo hold. So we decided to drive cross country with Abby and sprung for Sirius XM radio, which was very important. If you decide to, I don't know how much money it is, but it's worth it. And we just drove straight from DC to LA.
Wow. How many hours at a time was the driving?
I would say, other than the last day where we basically marathoned for about 7-8 hours, every session was probably close to 3 hours a day.
That's it?
Well, no, 3 hours in the morning, then we would stop somewhere for lunch, and then 3 hours until we would get to our hotel.
Oh.
So maybe 6 hours a day, but then the last day we didn't really stop at all. We just drove straight so I could have extra time in LA.
And that's how you split it up between you and the dog? Like in the after lunch, you shift drivers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Abby drove.
Abby drove. Yes, Abby drove. She's an amazing dog. She pulled her weight.
I'm just imagining the dog from Family Guy now as like Abby as what's the dog's name?
Brian.
Brian, yeah. Yeah, it's weird. I think I guess because of Abby's size, it's a pretty small dog.
Corgi, yeah.
Yeah, I always think of her as like being young. But she's like, what, 10, 12?
11, something like that. She's pretty old.
I always assumed she was like 2 or 3 for like ever.
I mean, corgis are basically lap dogs anyway. I mean, she was in the captain's chair in the back of the minivan, and she was really good. Didn't bark, didn't...
No accidents?
No accidents.
Wow.
No, I mean, especially when she was driving, we were worried there were going to be accidents, but there were no accidents, and no bathroom accidents either.
Did y'all see anything odd, interesting? Did y'all pick up a hitchhiker? Anything?
No hitchhikers.
No?
You're not supposed to, I mean, there wasn't room, because Dave... We were in a burgundy Dodge Caravan, and it was like packed to the brim. Like he had to send later on, a couple boxes because there just wasn't room for all of his stuff in the back of the van. And like we couldn't have fit a hitchhiker in if we wanted to.
Okay. I don't think people hitchhike like they used to. Heather, when you were growing up, I remember a lot of people like hitchhiking frequently.
People did. I can't remember. I think I only did like once or twice, maybe with a friend. But I know I had friends that like did that cross country trip hitchhiking back then, and had some good times and some things that came up along the way. It wasn't always smooth. But I have a friend. Elijah Wald wrote a book about hitchhiking at some point, and he was I think I still have to read it, but I think his viewpoint was that it's not really any more dangerous now than it used to be, and it, not advocating hitchhiking or anything, but just saying that he's got a different take on it, so it might be interesting to read that and think about it as just like all of the different things that we do every day that are, we put ourselves out there, and some of it's dangerous, some of it's,
Don't pick up a shark.
Yeah, don't pick up a shark.
Don't pick up a shark.
You mean don't pick it up, or don't pick it up if it's hitchhiking?
Don't pick it up if it's hitchhiking. The
Land
chances
shark.
of it eating you, I think, are high.
Oh, yeah.
Land or
shark.
sea.
Yeah.
What if it's the kind of what kind of shark? What if it's like one of those little tiny sharks? Because
I mean, that would be all right. I'm talking great white, because it would be hard for a great white to
fit in a car.
fit in a car,
Yeah.
B, obtain a license, C, get any other sort of secondary transportation like a bus, plane ticket, anything like that. So I think a shark would be a prime for a hitchhiker to like they would need to be picked up.
I bet they have a hard time if they want to pick up hitchhikers too. If the great white stops on the highway, how often do you get in for the ride?
Would you be scared? Like, oh, there's a giant great white driving the car. Should I get in? What's the rules here?
I mean, they have a nice smile. Maybe that would entice you. They have that big grin with all the teeth, and you're like, oh, I feel safe with this person, and then your head is gone.
Right.
Yeah, as an Uber driver, I constantly feel like I'm just picking up hitchhikers. It's the same type. I mean, I used to pick up hitchhikers, and it's that same type of feeling.
You're still alive.
Yeah.
You are still alive. Pete, he should be the one that wrote the book, because he has picked up numerous hitchhikers.
Yeah.
There's a hitchhiker behind your chair now, Pete, that you brought here. Get out of here, hitchhiker.
I don't know the person. I don't know where they're going, really. So it's that same type of feeling, okay.
Well, what do you mean you don't? I mean, once they get in the car.
Once they get in the car, I know where they're going. But
just take me where you're going.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like that. I don't know where they're going until I mean, I could be taking them for a 5-minute drive, or I could be taking them for a 45-minute drive.
Right.
I don't know until they jump in the car and press accept.
I tried to use the expression "I'm getting a lift" the other day, from a friend. I can't remember exactly what I said, but I realized that they've ruined that. I can't use that expression anymore. I can't just say, "Oh, I'm getting a lift."
You weren't.
I wasn't getting a LYFT.
Oh, okay.
I was just getting a LIFT, but it doesn't work.
Yeah,
you have to
that's
get all
true. They've kind of hijacked
now.
Like Xerox, they're just part of
Band-Aids.
That
all
word.
these
Frisbee.
Yeah, Queen.
Let's go play with the flying disc.
I told somebody we were going to be talking about Queen today, because if you're listening, I swear we are going to be talking about Queen, about the Queen biopic, and they said, "Oh wow," and they thought I was talking about the Queen. And there's probably a biopic about the Queen too.
Oh yeah, there's been many
about
the Queen.
Right, so it could say the Queen, the band, kind of co-opted the royalty name too.
Yeah, I wonder if they were concerned about calling the band Queen, and I'm sure they're not creating confusion, but maybe people would view it as some type of political statement, like the Sex Pistols kind of, like their God Save the Queen, whether the royalty were upset or didn't care.
I wonder how Freddie Mercury would be a hitchhiker. I wonder.
You don't want to get
No, we don't want to get it. We don't want to do that. Okay.
What if Freddie Mercury and the Queen
were hitchhiking?
Oh,
wow.
People
would they get picked up? With
they
the
would
shark,
be confused.
With the great white.
They would be confused. People would be very confused because,
What if they were doing it, I swear I'll stop after this, and Freddie Mercury was dressed as the Queen, and the Queen was dressed as Freddie Mercury. And the shark was
I thought you were going to go, the Queen was dressed like a great white shark, like the Chevy Chase costume from SNL, and Freddie Mercury was dressed like Queen Elizabeth. Then you'd be really confused. And they were picked up by a great white shark.
Animators out there, we are just giving you material.
But before we jump into a discussion of the Queen, is it called Bohemian Rhapsody?
It's called Bohemian Rhapsody.
Okay.
It's called Bohemian
Rhapsody. I keep forgetting what it was called. We're going to play a song from the Day of the Races. Day of the Races.
A Day at the Races. Now, this is the album that was the follow-up to A Night at the Opera.
Okay.
So, high expectations for the album that contained the greatest song ever, Bohemian Rhapsody. And it's a good album. It's a solid album. And we're going to hear The Millionaire Waltz, which I think is track 4.
Okay.
People say it's a rip-off of Bohemian Rhapsody. It might be. I think it's a really good song that no one really talks about.
All right. Millionaire Waltz. That was Queen with Millionaire Waltz. And you're listening to The Thought Bowl. We're here with internationally known, renowned movie critic David Lomison.
That is, I've ragged on you before saying that, but I have been overseas.
Yeah,
so I would say that's true.
That is, yeah. And I did hear a little bit of Bohemian Rhapsody in that song. Not like it's a complete copy, but maybe in the same type of vein of that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was definitely influenced by it, but I think it's a really strong song. It's great.
Yeah. And if you have any questions for David about Queen or hitchhiking or great white sharks, hit us at thoughtbowlradio@gmail.com. So let's jump into the Queen biopic.
We're diving right in. Head first. So Pete, you saw it?
Yes.
Heather, you did not see it yet.
I have not seen it yet.
And we are going to try to sway you. First, let's just start off. Pete, would you recommend it?
No.
You would not recommend it. Okay,
No.
I would say if you're a Queen fan, and I think we talked about this a little before the show started, but if people were expecting more from a movie about Queen and Freddie Mercury because of the way Freddie Mercury led his life, the way like his personality and everything, they wanted something maybe a little bit deeper. But I mean, it is sort of a hollow cookie cutter musician band biopic. But if you enjoy their music, there's some good scenes. I think Rami Malek does a really good job as Freddie Mercury. The concert stuff is awesome. The way they recreated Live Aid is really good. I would recommend it. It's an excuse to listen to Queen's music in a theater, Yeah,
I think that from a cinematic point of view, like their recreation of Live Aid was pretty. There's some nice shots. And there was a point at the movie where I thought it was going to turn and I was really going to like it. It was where they were showing like negative press clippings. From just from whatever Rolling Stone or like Cream magazine.
Oh yeah, all the reviews for Bohemian Rhapsody. Yeah.
I thought
that part was really good.
Yeah, I thought at that point the tone was going to change of the movie, and I was really going to like it. But that was just like a thing that
the tone is a little weird in the movie, and I think that is also a criticism of it because you have this sort of tragic figure, Freddie Mercury, who lived his life at 100 miles an hour. But he really didn't feel as if he had any true friends except Mary Austin, his like best friend, and the tone is all weird, because there's like comedy parts, like Roger Taylor, he's played as like the funniest guy ever, like jokey slapstick guy, like womanizer, like he's a typical. I don't even know if he was really like that. Like I think all the other, it's been said that all the other members of Queen, they were all like married and kids. They had like the most boring lives. It was like the complete contrast to Freddie. So, that really doesn't come across in the movie, I think. But I don't know. There's enough good about it rather than bad. I would still recommend it,
If someone who didn't know anything about Freddie Mercury's life were to watch it, would they get at least an idea of the reality of it, or like the basic facts of where was he born, how did they band meet up and all that? I
mean, even the band meetup scene is not true, Yeah. I mean, I mentioned this before air, but he was basically buddies with all of them before he joined the band. Like he didn't just show up in the movie, he just shows up at one of their gigs and their lead singer walks out. Like, the lead singer was like good friends with Freddie and he introduced them. But the original lead singer, like, he's just, you see him for a little bit in the beginning and then he's gone because he quits, you know.
So Heather is thinking about taking her mom to see.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. So, you know, Freddie Mercury led such a nice, quiet life and everything. would this be an appropriate movie to take my mom to? Would I feel comfortable sitting in the
I think so.
Yeah,
it's so.
I mean, it's by today's standards and what is shown on screen, it's very... It
made a ton of money.
It could be a G-rated movie almost, as much as...
Yeah, you know, and I think that might be what they were going for better or worse. You know, because you do want to appeal to everybody, because I get why they maybe wanted to do that, you know, because you want to spread the, you know, Queen is this awesome band and you want this biopic to appeal to as many people as you can so that people that may not have heard of their music can get a taste of it. But I would counter with that, where Queen is such a good band already and so well known already, maybe you could have taken a risk or two. And unfortunately they didn't. So
yeah, I'm trying to think of like films about bands that would be equivalent to that, and maybe the Doors movie would be the most.
You bring that movie up a lot.
It's Val Kilmer. It's not Brad Pitt or Leonardo, but it's Val Kilmer in the next big.
He was Batman.
Yeah, he was Batman.
He is a big star.
So I think that for me kind of set the bar of like, you know, there was some things that weren't true, but a whole lot of interesting stuff happened in Jim Morrison's life, and they showed a lot of it. And I just kept waiting while I was watching this. I'm like, okay, where's the interesting thing that, you know, that pops up, that happens.
I haven't seen that movie in forever. Heather, have you seen that movie in a while?
No, I think I've read about Jim Morrison's life and all, but no, I don't think I saw the movie with Brad Pitt, right?
Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer.
It should have been Brad Pitt.
We think Brad Pitt can play any role, right?
So I sent along an article that I read, really good, about the Queen movie.
So listeners out there, you can go to the... Did you send it? Oh,
I posted on Twitter, and I think I put it on the Facebook page.
You did, yeah.
It's by Stephen Hayden. He's a music writer for The Ringer. Really good website. They do pop culture and sports. But he wrote an article about the movie called "Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About Queen That Bohemian Rhapsody Gets Completely Wrong." And just to summarize what he thought, I think he was maybe in more of your camp, Pete, where he doesn't really recommend the movie, but he would watch it if it came on again. You know, the music is awesome, and it's an easy watch. It is an easy watch. But one of the things that I wanted to highlight that he talks about in the article is just sort of the timeline inconsistencies about what Bohemian Rhapsody doesn't talk about or just flat out gets wrong. So I'm going to read this paragraph from the article. There are other problems for those of us who actually know and love Queen's music. Bohemian Rhapsody has been likened to a glorified Wikipedia entry, but that's actually a disservice to Wikipedia. Look up Queen's discography on Wikipedia, and at least you'll find the albums listed in correct order. Bohemian Rhapsody can't be bothered to even get this basic information correct. Fat Bottom Girls plays during a sequence depicting Queen's first U.S. tour, even though the song was released 4 years later. Queen is shown recording We Will Rock You in 1980, 3 years after the song appeared in the album News of the World. It is implied that Another One Bites the Dust was part of 1982's Hot Space, Queen's controversial disco experiment, when in fact it went to #1 in the U.S. 2 years prior. So it gets a lot of, like, it fudges a lot with, like, dates and when songs came out and stuff, which, Heather, as somebody who's impartial, does that matter to you as much for a movie, or?
It does. I mean, if it was if I were going to see the movie without knowing or liking the band at all, I might not know. But I would think the people creating the movie would know that there's going to be Queen nerds that are going to be paying attention. Querds. So that's really surprising. I could picture doing like one, like maybe if for some reason it just really made sense to have this happen, song come out in this scene, but to have that many come out wrong. It just seems like somebody wasn't. It's very strange that, especially with what Brian May and was like the artistic, like consultant for.
May and Roger Taylor were the ones that were really like. Because obviously no Freddie because he passed away.
Right.
But
John Deacon doesn't do anything.
He's retired. Like he hasn't been around. I mean, I think after Freddie died, he played the tribute concert, and then he was like, "I'm done with this."
Was he just upset with members of Queen or just the industry in general?
No, I don't think it was even like an upset with the industry in general. I think he was like, Freddie's dead and the Queen is dead. And he, again, as I touched on earlier, like Queen, the other members were like boring guys with marriages and kids. And, he was like, okay, I'm done. We're finished. I'm going to go home and hang out with my wife and kids now. Mm-hmm. So, that was the end of that.
We just want to verify. The Queen is not dead.
No.
Queen was dead.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't want
people to think. Did I say Queen or what did I say? Okay.
Well, he said Queen is dead.
Okay.
Someone tuned in and be like, oh, my God, the Queen is dead? So we don't want to, start, false news about the Queen passing away or anything. And Heather, we kind of grew up when these albums came out.
Mm-hmm.
I was saying, talking to Pete earlier about how, some of reading that article, some of those songs, I'm like, I know that's wrong. These things are wrong because I can remember, being 10 years old and, singing, like We Are the Champions or something. And, Bohemian Rhapsody is one of the first songs I ever remember knowing, and I don't recall hearing it on the radio, but obviously I did. Because I think I was like 7 or 8 the year it came out, and I just remember singing it by myself, in the backyard, swinging. And other people I've talked to have the same experience who were that age at the time. It was just kind of in the air, and we knew the whole entire song without anyone ever, without having an album or even, I didn't buy records for myself at 8 years old or know what a radio station was. Just that song
they had
was so powerful.
I do remember they actually had a couple videos before videos were things.
Promotional videos.
And I remember seeing those on
really?
I think they played it on the show Midnight Special, which would usually play live acts and stuff, but they would play those Queen, they were videos. I think they said they made it for maybe it was Top of the Pops because they didn't want to go on and lip sync. So they made 3 or 4 promotional, which became videos. So Bohemian Rhapsody, I remember seeing that with them with a black background and the opening and everything. So I think that was my first exposure to that song.
You were watching cooler things than me because I was Flintstones and not that that's not cool, and Brady Bunch reruns. I know I didn't see that video, but thinking now, I'm I think my views on things like the death penalty were influenced by that song.
Really?
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. Because sitting there pondering, not really knowing what's going on in there, but trying to figure out what's going on, and you hear you feel the empathy for this character in the song before you even know before I had any, didn't know the words death penalty. But once I did, that imagery is what came up in my mind.
That's interesting.
So.
I always
your laugh makes me wonder if there's more layers to this song.
No, it's not. I was just thinking about how we won't talk about that on air.
Okay.
I always thought the song was about when he says, "Mother, I just killed a man." He's meaning I am killing my heterosexual self.
Oh, interesting.
I always thought that was some type of coming out type of song.
That's the rumor now that people have really whenever anybody talks about Bohemian Rhapsody, it was on the technical side, and that's warranted because it's a masterpiece.
Oh yeah, the harmony.
But now I only remember this recently. I watched a documentary on YouTube about it, and with the promotional stuff for this movie, people are now finally starting to try to dive into the lyrics, and you can make a case that it is about Freddie Mercury coming out.
Yeah, I could see that now going in my head, but I did not think that before.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, is it the greatest song ever?
Yeah.
It's up there with Stairway to Heaven.
Oh my God!
No, it beats out Stairway to Heaven.
Really?
I think it does.
I love
too.
Stairway to Heaven.
I mean,
it's played out, but it's still, I still think it's a great song when you.
I mean, it is a great song. It's just not the best song.
Right. Bohemian Rhapsody's up there. Would definitely be my top 5.
Bohemian Rhapsody has 3 different genres in it: opera, classical, and hard rock.
That's
Come on,
true.
Pete.
That's true.
like.
I think that's one of the things I liked about it as a kid is just like these, the way it changes from one thing to the next. There's like different parts of the song, like chapters in a book.
Mm-hmm.
There's,
So I wanted to also touch on something else from the article and in the movie about the Live Aid thing. So one of the things that the movie doesn't even touch on is the fact that Queen played a bunch of shows in South Africa during apartheid. And this is not even brought up in the movie at all. And it was a big criticism.
Right.
And the band members have said, like, since then, we shouldn't have played these shows. It was wrong and we got flack for it and it was warranted. But just want to read one more passage from the article. The film's third act essentially sells out reality in order to goose the drama of the climactic Live Aid performance. Part of that involves downplaying the success of The Works, Queen's last truly great album, which reestablished the band's commercial bona fides in Europe and pretty much every place outside the United States due to the inclusion of 2 all-time Queen singles, Radio Gaga and I Want to Break Free. Bohemian Rhapsody suggests that Queen hadn't played in years before Live Aid because Mercury was preoccupied with establishing a solo career. In reality, Queen played 48 gigs from late 1984 to 85, wrapping up not long before Live Aid. The most momentous shows were scheduled for October 84 in South Africa, when Queen defied international boycotts by agreeing to play the country during the apartheid era. The decision nearly canned Queen's career and eventually overshadowed The Works, an otherwise strong album that emulates the sound and formula of the game. Apparently, the South Africa flap still haunts the band, given that the incident was whitewashed from the film. So, yeah, they don't even discuss...
Which in this day and age, with anyone can Google anything, I don't know why. If you're trying to keep it a secret or not, like, known that was there.
And you do, like, I mean, and we've said it before, it's a fun movie. It's got Queen's music in it. You want to have conflict in your movie, and that would be a good thing to overcome. I mean, maybe you even blame it on an evil producer or something that signed them up for it. And Queen's like, oh, we'll play these shows. We don't know anything. But they don't even do that. They just don't even do it. So I don't know what that means. I can see the criticisms from that point alone why people don't like the movie. It's a shame, but it's still fun. I still recommend it. I mean, I don't know how many people are as like big a Queen fans as me. Like, obviously, I never
Queen is your favorite band.
Oh
correct?
yeah, without
by
question.
far,
without question.
Wow. So yeah, I think that's you would have a totally different. Like if someone made a movie about Pink Floyd, I would feel, regardless of how bad or good it was, I would be like, oh yeah, I would definitely watch it 1,000 times. Yeah.
What about you? Your favorite band, singer, Heather?
I couldn't say favorite, but Pink Floyd and Queen are both ones I liked. I was. My friends called me a Floyd fanatic in high school because in the 1980s I just kind of like dissed all the music that was coming out then, and then in the early 90s I was all into Morrissey and all these. There was all this good stuff in the 80s,
Well, maybe there's a Pink Floyd biopic coming. Last time I was on this show, I predicted on this show. Cut for editing so I can edit in that part where I predict it now. Maybe the next big movie genre that we're bombarded with is the musician biopic. Like sprawling over time with like a soundtrack that everybody can get behind.
I like that.
I predicted that there's going to be a string of musical biopics because this Queen movie, it's made a ton of money. So you've got the Elton John movie coming, and that's probably going to make a ton of money also.
Right.
So.
I'm looking forward to it. I hope it's just not a 100% musical. That's my fear of the Elton John movie. Did you kind of get the impression from the trailer that it could be that?
I think it's going to be a little trippier than just like the standard Queen, like the standard musician biopic. I think it's because isn't there that scene where he's like performing and all the audience is like floating up in the air and he like flips upside down and stuff. Yeah. Like I think it's going to be more trippy. But I think it's going to be dramatic also. Like I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be standard.
Do you think it could be a musical though?
It might be. It might be. Would that be bad? I mean, his music is great.
I'd like musicals, but I need a certain amount of dialogue in the musicals.
Yeah. Do you think there'll be one about Iron Maiden?
Ooh, there could be. Yeah, there's a pinball machine, an Iron Maiden pinball machine.
Yeah,
so.
because I don't really know anything about the band Iron Maiden, but they were so prevalent
and influential. Yeah.
Guns N' Roses, maybe. It's coming. I'm telling you. Yeah. I'm telling you. I predicted it before. Yeah. I'm doubling down on this prediction. I will triple down on it.
So you think Guns N' Roses would be the most logical?
Well, no, I mean, there could be one. But I'm saying, like Stevie Wonder may be next. Is coming. Anybody. It could be anybody. Sex Pistols. Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like there's a lot of like obstacles to getting, these movies made. I guess one is probably permission from the record companies to play all these songs in the movie.
And I think maybe giving the artist like complete control, like somebody like Elton John, this isn't an insult, like his best days are behind him in terms of like recording artist. So I think maybe he's made peace with the world and he can tell the story that he wants to in a movie about him. So like he's going to tell the bad with the good, because he can. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely. Did they say when that's coming out? Summer of 2019? Is that what?
I thought it was maybe. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think it's next year sometime.
The summer or the winters. There's trailer previews.
Yeah.
So let's hear another Queen song before we jump into some other movies you've seen recently, including A Star Is Born.
Yeah.
So what Queen track are we going to hear?
It's time to rock out, guys. We're going to listen to Tie Your Mother Down.
All right. We're not suggesting you do that, but this is just the name of the song. And in addition to the Bohemian Rhapsody movie, you've seen some other movies recently, or some other movies that piqued your interest or didn't pique your interest recently.
Well, went to see A Star Is Born, the Lady Gaga, Bradley Cooper movie, which is a remake of a remake of a remake. I had never seen any of the previous ones. Now, Heather, you were talking about before the show that you had seen the last one, the Barbra Streisand.
I remember seeing the Barbra Streisand.
Do you remember much about it? Or?
No, I'm afraid I don't, except that I liked it.
I mean, it's your standard story of...
I just remembered it was kind of too adult for me to watch at the time, because I remember Chris Christopherson with his shirt off, like making out with Barbra Streisand. That was like...
way too adult for you.
Yeah.
And that was a remake to start with, you said?
Oh, yes. There was two other ones before that. One with Judy Garland. One came out in like the early days of like 1920. I think
my gosh.
The first one.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how the Jazz Singer, there's like, I think 3 or 4 of remakes of the Jazz Singer. It's kind of like that same.
And but in another 20 or so years, there's probably going to be another Star
with robots. Yeah, with robots when we're all robots.
Oh, that'd be an interesting opening scene to like a movie set in the future where they're watching A Star Is Born.
Yeah. But I mean, I recommend it. What I will say about the movie is the first half is a lot stronger than the second half. Because you sort of hit that crescendo. I mean, it's not spoilers because it's a remake times 4. But so what happens is Bradley Cooper plays this. He's a popular artist on his way down of his career
country
trajectory.
Artist?
Yeah, country rock. I would say.
Who would you? Is there like an equivalent? Like who would you? If he was doing someone, who would it be?
Maybe Waylon Jennings, maybe, but more popular, I guess. Just more, but he was more on the rock side than country. I think. At least that's what I got from the movie. I don't know if I'm completely reading it wrong or not. But so he's on his way down. He goes to a club, and he sees Lady Gaga's character sing a song, and it like blows him away. He's like enthralled with her. He invites her to come on his tour and sing one of the songs that she wrote. They sing it. It's amazing. She gets a record deal. her career skyrockets as fast as anything, while his is on his way down, and things happen, which I won't, spoil. But it's a story that's been told many times, and I think the things that set this one apart from the first ones are the music's really good, and the performances are really good.
Is it sad? I heard it's really sad.
Oh yeah, yeah. Somebody was chopping some onions in the theater. They were chopping some onions in the theater, no doubt, at certain points. But shout out to Sam Elliott, who I hope gets at least an Oscar nomination. He's in the movie.
Oh, okay. What character does he play?
He plays Bradley Cooper's brother.
Oh, okay.
He's really good, and I hope he gets at least an Oscar nom.
And Bradley Cooper is a alcoholic in the movie?
Yeah.
Like a really bad,
really bad at times.
Alcoholic.
Yeah, and he sings his own songs also.
These are Bradley Cooper songs?
Yeah, and he sings and he plays the instruments. He's really good.
Wow.
Very surprised. One minute he's voicing Rocket Raccoon in Guardians of the Galaxy, and next he's singing rock ditties on stage in front of millions of people. He's multifaceted, that guy.
Yeah, and I also heard he hung around Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam to kind of get absorb what it is to be a rock star, just to kind of absorb through hanging around him what it your life is instantly changed, and everyone knows you and you don't know people, and people come up to you for autographs and everything like that. Just how much it affects you and how much how much you have to live up to at that point also.
Yeah, I mean he's definitely still popular in the movie, but he's not. He's on his way, out. It's a contrast between his career and Lady Gaga's of just being discovered and is shot to the moon. So,
yeah, I think that's the template for all the movies where it's one person is coming up, another person.
I actually think the first two were acting related, not music.
Oh, okay.
I think maybe the Judy Garland one was she was a Broadway actress, but
okay.
The very first one was acting and not music, and then the Barbra Streisand one, obviously that one was more like the current one. But I mean, other than that, I do want to recommend not a movie. It's a Netflix original, Haunting of Hill House. I don't know if either of you guys watch it. You have seen that?
I have seen that.
Can we do spoilers? It's been out for a while.
But some people have probably been waiting. We shouldn't do too much spoilers.
Okay.
We can talk about it.
Right. Okay. So the only thing that I will say about that, it's really scary. It was really awesome to watch. I marathoned that during my cross-country trip. And one of the things, I would watch a couple episodes before I went to bed at night in the various hotels. And there were two things that happened on the show that happened, paranormal activity that happened in the hotel rooms. The first one... in one of the episodes, a character thought they had closed the door, and when they came back to it, it was open. That happened in our hotel room. Ooh. I went to bed with the door closed, and when we woke up, it was opened. And the second thing, there's an episode where there's scratching behind a basement wall, and there was some scratching in the room one night. And I had to send Abby to go check it out. And when she went to go check it out, it went away. But it was freaky for those things to happen specifically after the episodes that I'd watched.
You had just watched the episodes, and then
Wow.
The stalking of the Haunting of Hill House.
It was bleeding through my tablet into real world.
So I'm not familiar with this. What's the whole premise of the show?
So I don't know if you know more about this than me. I didn't realize this until maybe halfway through the show, but it's based off a book.
Yes, I've read the book as a teenager, and I'm Facebook friends with the daughter of the author of the book, who is a really interesting person who does a ballad radio show on a station like this out in California. Wow. And she liked it too, but she said she doesn't sure her mom would have liked it because in the book it's more psychological. You don't know when you're reading it whether things are really happening or if the person who's the central character is just kind of losing it. And there's a lot of things about insecurity and relationship and stuff in it, but otherwise no. It's I think the premise of is just that it's Hill House and it's haunted, but otherwise the name and some of the, like, the opening thing, they use some of the prose from Shirley Jackson. Whatever walks here walks alone and everything. They use all that kind of prose that from there, but I can't remember how they started it, but that was when they described in the very first episode, described the house. It is from the first paragraph of the book.
Okay, that's cool.
But then it just takes off from there, and it's
yeah, I did hear that. I mean, I never had any ties to the book, so that wasn't really like a stopgap for me about seeing it, that it was completely different. But the performances are really good. It doesn't outstay its welcome, I think. I think it's just maybe the right amount of episodes. Maybe it could do with one less, but that's with every Netflix show. Maybe it runs a little bit too long than you'd think it should. Disappointed with the ending, though, and we won't go into it.
Me too. We won't go into it.
But yeah, maybe I didn't get it. Yeah. I don't know. Please call in or send an email. Set me straight.
I will say there's one episode, this doesn't give anything away, but there's one of the episodes that it is, I think, the longest in a TV show where it's like a continual camera take. I don't remember the tech terms or anything, or maybe that is it, but where the scene is just shot in real time.
Right.
There's
one long camera shot, like Scorsese.
Like in True Detective, like that one shot.
Similar.
It's like 20 minutes, I think, at least.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I would equate it to like a really scary haunted hayride that ends at like a dirty 7-Eleven. It's just like disappointing. Like, you don't even have chips here. Yeah. Come on, give me some chips.
What is your Netflix? Do you binge watch things, or do you kind of want to space them out?
I mean, it just depends on if I'm into something. Like, I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about this, but Netflix is now like doing away with other Marvel shows. Like, they canceled Luke Cage,
Daredevil.
They canceled Daredevil, which was the big one. That was the tentpole Marvel show, and they just canceled it. I think maybe the plan is that Netflix saw the writing on the wall, and Disney they're going to do a streaming thing.
Oh, yeah.
And so maybe after this Fox deal where they get X-Men and Fantastic Four, and now Disney's going to reset all of their non-movie stuff. And maybe Daredevil's going to be redone. Maybe Luke Cage is going to be redone, but on a different platform or something like that. But just depends on what it is. Like, I want to see the new MST3K. I haven't had a chance to yet, the new season. Pete wearing the shirt of it, and he didn't even know what it was. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but I've heard good things about it. You know, it's just, there's so many things to watch and play and listen to and do. And
you're a big video game player too, right?
Oh, yeah.
How many hours a week do you think?
Really reeling in the ladies.
Yeah.
Wanted to watch that Vietnam Ken Burns thing.
I
started watching that, and it's just like so depressing to watch that. Like, you got to be in the right mind space to watch something like that. Yeah. You know.
So you didn't answer my question. How many hours a week do you play video games?
I think he did.
More than 10.
It varies.
Oh, okay.
It varies depending on what I have to do during the week.
What's the longest you've played at one time? How many hours?
I mean, probably not super long since college.
Oh, okay.
You know,
so you're not playing for 12 hours?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. I mean, I'm not wearing diapers and playing, like, you know, anything like that. Come on, Pete.
That time just kind of goes away when you're playing video games. I mean, for me, it's been since Phantasy Star. That was my, you know, was that Sega or something?
Yeah.
But I don't remember time existing while I was playing that. It was just, you know, go turn corners and go through this next wall and see if there's something pops up there, and then go to another planet. And
I mean, whenever you're doing any hobby that you're interested in or that you're really focused on, like, time seems to go away. Like, it's something that you enjoy and you can sink a lot of hours into. So, you know, you're not really thinking about how much time it is being spent. You know,
right?
It's with anything. You know.
Yeah.
So take that, Pete. Take that.
So at least 10 hours. At least 10 hours every week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. I have my food intravenously given to me, so I can just sit there like a blob on a beanbag chair and stare into the screen while I play Super Mario Brothers.
Well, I have a friend, and her son will play 20 straight hours, and she has to constantly go in his room and say, "You've been playing for 12 straight hours. You need to stop playing."
See, that's too much.
And go outside.
That's too much. I can't do that anymore.
That seems like a lot.
You know.
So unfortunately, we're coming to the close of our program today, but continue listening, because from 4 to 6 p.m. we have Roadside Attractions with Brian playing vintage rock and roll, country blues, and folk from Off the Beaten Path. And from 6 to 8 p.m. we have Roots and Wings Radio with Becky, Reed, and Chris playing Americana music, old and new. And we have programming here 24 hours today, 24 hours a day, not just today, but 24 hours every day, because there is 24 hours in every day, as far as I know.
Half spent playing video games, according to Pete.
So we're going to leave you with a Queen song, Someone to Love. Is that it?
Somebody to love.
Oh, someone, somebody. That's not the same? That's different?
It's different words, Pete.
Oh, okay.
Sentiment is correct.
Right.
The words are completely wrong.
Totally different.
Right, yeah.
So thank you for listening.
Take care.